Hi, everybody, and welcome to CentralMaine.com Sports. I am Travis Barrett. I'm sitting with Drew Bonifant. Day one of the 2019 high school basketball tournament is in the books. What'd you think?
The games were a little sloppier than I was expecting. I with the exception of maybe Hampton, we didn't see any of the teams in the A North field look sharp today for 4 quarters. I mean, they did at times, but Messalonski struggled in their win throughout the game until the fourth quarter. Lawrence had a big second half, but struggled in the first half in their win against over Madomic. Hampton kind of rolled in that game against Erskine, but even Skowhegan, mighty Skowhegan, stumbled a little bit before they were able to pull away. So it was both a mix of how sloppy the play was from those games, but also that we saw that the field looked maybe a little closer than we would have expected going in.
So and just quickly, we'll start with Class B North girls. Waterville unbeaten this year. They only beat number 6 John Bapst by 9, 44-35. Just quickly, other scores. So Class A North girls quarterfinals we're talking about. Number 1 Skowhegan 46, number 8 Camden 30, number 5 Messalonski 39, number 4 Gardner 33. Number 2, Hamden, 44. Number 7, Erskine, 26. And number 3, Lawrence, 57 over number 6, Madomic, 33. So, I think 2 things jumped out at me. One, both from tonight, the night session at the Augusta Civic Center. That Messalonski-Gardner game was, it was horrible.
Yeah,
it was an ugly game. It wasn't played well. I remember I looked at you during the third quarter, and Gardner was ahead by like 5 or 6 points maybe. And I said to you, Messalonski has been so bad, but Gardner hasn't put him away yet, and it's going to come back and bite him. Yeah. Sure enough, it did. And then the other thing that jumped out at me was Skowhegan faced probably the most physical test it's faced all year, got into foul trouble early, and really struggled to get out of it. But they did get out of it, and at the end of the day, they win by 16. So draw what you will from that, I guess.
Well, that's kind of the sign of a team that is the 1 seed and deserves to be that they can have a almost entire half of play where they just don't look like themselves, and then you still look at the final score and it looks like an easy game out there. I mean, talking to the players afterwards, they said that they were never really concerned that a potential upset was brewing or that the game might be getting away from them. They said that they said their reaction was, and this was Andy Cook and Alyssa Everett who were saying this. We're saying basically their reaction was more, hey, let's wake up out there more than any or what's going on feelings. That's an experienced team. That's a team that a lot of teams, when they struggle out of the gates at a place like the Civic Center, it becomes a race against time to kind of get their rhythm back. But Skowhegan, it was never really a question of whether they would find enough to win that game.
Yeah, it was interesting in that Messalonski had 2 of its starters. Annie Cook was 92 seconds into the game. She's on the bench with 2 fouls already. Mariah Dunbar gets her 3rd foul with like a minute 8 to go in the first quarter of that game. Alyssa Everett has to be helped off the floor with 2 minutes and 50 seconds left in the first quarter. And you're thinking, wow, this is worst case scenario for Skowhegan. Cassie Krull scores 7 points, takes over the game in the first quarter for Camden Hills, and at the end of the day, it's still 7-7 at the end of the first quarter. Yeah. So you're thinking, man, everything went wrong, and the best you could hope for was a tie. That's not good. I think it's funny that by contrast, Skowhegan players talked about we were never really nervous, and I don't think they were. Messalonski, Keith Roseby, the coach, and Gabrielle Wiener, their junior standout player, both said, well, we weren't really nervous, we confident, and we knew we could. But I think one of the 2 teams is telling the truth, and I don't think it's Messalonski.
I would agree. You could definitely buy that Skowhegan was thinking like, okay, what's going on? Let's wake up out there. While Messalonski, the thought was probably more, what's going on? Because they couldn't buy a basket. I mean, these were 3-point shots that were landing, were falling a foot shy of the rim, and layups
or over it.
Yep. It was layups that were just being basically slammed against the rim on the way up. Just no no sense of any comfort or rhythm from that team,
No.
and I can't think that Messalonski was sitting there thinking, "Yeah, we're fine. Even
We're totally fine.
Yeah, even though the score was never out
Yeah,
out of control because Gardner was struggling on its own end. I mean,
Yeah.
Messalonski had 11 points at halftime,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
was never buried. I mean, that just goes to show how what you were saying. Gardner never took advantage of that chance to really knock down a few baskets and really put Messalonski on their heels. They kept the door open, and finally, I mean, maybe that's a sign of that confidence being there for Messalonski, that they did recognize that there was a chance to rally back and they took advantage of that chance.
Yeah, I think one of the keys there was, Wiener decided if she came out on fire in the first minute, she hit 2 jump shots, 1 for 3. She was locked in, and then the game just went away from her. She couldn't buy a shot. And so then as the second half wears on, you get to the fourth quarter, she starts saying, okay, I'm just going to take the ball to the hoop, and you're either going to foul me or I'm going to make a basket. And that's what happened. And so I think that shows the kind of dual threat player she is, and it worked for them.
And that was an interesting point that DeRosby brought up, where he said, we found that there was space inside because they were selling for some outside shots and nothing was falling, and then they said we saw some lanes inside that we could attack, and once Wiener started taking those lanes, it really kind of started to break the game open.
Well, and she wasn't the only one. Alyssa Janess did it, and Sarah Lowell did it at one point. I remember thinking, Gardner's in trouble if Sarah Lowell's coming off the bench and saying, "Oh, I can go there and make an uncontested shot." Yeah. So that's problematic.
And this was a play in that game that got kind of overlooked. I thought by the way it started to turn out at the end with Wiener scoring all those points and everything. But Emily Parent came down and knocked down a 3 at the start of the quarter.
Yeah.
It was a 1-point game, a 1-point Gardner lead going into that quarter. Messalonski can't hit water if they fall out of a boat.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Parent knocks down that 3. Messalonski's up by 2, and you just got a sense that there was just the pressure was off the Messalonski player's shoulders. Like, okay, we have seen one go in. Now it's that it just kind of either whatever you want to say, whether it woke them up, whether it just kind of gave them a spark, that the game kind of started to change once that shot went in.
For sure. And I think, it's an interesting thing with that Messalonski team, which has been so good and so dominant for the last couple of years, that these seniors, like Emily Parent, like Kate Seekins, they know that this is it, and if you don't play well, but they're all in different roles. I mean, I think that's what's crazy about that team, is these are kids that have been on the team, but they're playing different roles this year, and they're a different kind of team. I think we saw it tonight. I do think that, unfortunately for Messalonski, Skowhegan probably played its worst game of the tournament tonight, and that's a wake-up call for that group. And Messalonski won't be so lucky, I think, against Skowhegan.
Yeah, if you're Messalonski, you take some confidence from the way that Skowhegan looked, because I think you think to yourself, if we play our normal game, not the way they played tonight, but if we play a normal game for us or a good game for us against that Skowhegan team from today, they probably win that game. They're at least there until the final minute. So that's a lot of ifs and what ifs and everything. But you're at least come away from that thinking, okay, well, that's the formula. There is a formula for us to play Skowhegan and win. But like you said, Skowhegan may have already used up that bad game here, and Messalonski might be facing a Skowhegan team that's more like it's been the regular season.
I think the problem for Messalonski is that we saw the recipe for beating Skowhegan is to be physical with them, and I'm not sure Messalonski can do that.
Yeah, that was what Michael Blanc said. That's what his players said. They same thing: physical intensity. Cameron Hills just really had the physical edge in that game, at least early.
Yeah,
and they acknowledged it took them a while to get used to that.
Well, I remember saying a couple of points during the regular season, watching some of these games, that when you get those 3-person officiating crews, the games get called differently. And some of these helter-skelter games in the regular season where it gets sloppy and chaotic, and teams like Skowhegan, Winslow's a team like that in Class B that can take advantage of that. Well, you don't see that game as much at this time of year. I think it is an adjustment, but again, credit to Skowhegan. They're good enough to figure that out and play whatever it takes to win. They've got so many options.
It's like coaches often say when they win a game like that, we would have liked it to go easier, but the fact that we had to win it this way probably makes us a better team for the long run for it.
The afternoon, I think both games sort of went the way we expected. I think it took Lawrence a little while to warm up, but once they did, they showed they can hit shots and they can play. Sarah Poli continues to surprise me in the fact that she's not 5'10" like she's listed at, but she plays like she's 6 feet tall. I mean, she gets to every rebound. She gives them an inside presence that those guards on that team sorely need. And the flip side is, Hampden Academy, which is built around 6'3" center Bailey Donovan, who has grown into her game this year. Looks like a completely different player. She made 25 points and 16 rebounds look as easy as possible today in their win over Erskine.
Yeah, and that's onto your Sarah Poli point. That's the sort of matchup, her against Donovan in the next round, where it might be tough to come across the rebounds just because she just won't be able to touch some of the rebounds that Bailey Donovan will just reach over her and get. When it's just a matter of who wants the ball more, Sarah Poli is generally the person who's coming down with it because she's a tenacious player and she knows how to go up and get it. And that's what Greg Chesley has said before, the head coach there at Lawrence. He said, it's just the ball's in the air and she goes and gets it. She wants it more and she gets it. And it's tough to win rebounding battles that way when the person you're going to be going up against is on paper 5 inches taller. Yeah,
it's a true story. So I think, I was in charge of writing the Class A North girls preview, in our little nugget boxes there, our little blur. One of the things, we had to make our prediction and the matchup we'd like to see. I said I wanted to see Hampton and Lawrence in the second round in the semifinals because I feel like they're a contrast in styles. And we're going to get it. And, I still think either of those teams can win. I think the problem for Hampton is they don't score a lot of points.
They don't, and they don't get a lot of points from outside Donovan. She had 25 points today, but they only scored 44 as a team. Yeah. So that kind of feeds into the theme of none of the teams today look like juggernauts.
Yeah.
That's a team where it looks like if you take her out of the game, and easier said than done, she's a really good player, but if you are able to have an answer for her, they're going to find a tough time to keep humming. So they definitely got the top player advantage, but Lawrence has more depth than they do, and maybe they may have closed that gap on in terms of the caliber of play of the top player, because Brooklyn Lambert was really impressive today, and that's huge for them that she looks this good this soon after a potentially bad injury.
She was lost a minute or so into that game against Gardner.
Yeah, it was.
And she didn't play the last 2 games, so she's basically missed 3 games plus a week. And she looked like she hadn't missed a beat.
Yeah, in that second half especially, I don't know if it was just she started to find her, just started to find her speed or whatever in that second half. But she looked a lot better in the fourth quarter. She took over. I mean, she was the best player on the court, no question about it. Madonna coach even said he was asked after the game what made the difference in the fourth quarter as Lawrence pulled away. And he said, we were gassed, and Brooklyn Lambert's awesome. Those are 2 reasons. And
I would say that sums it up.
Yeah. That was pretty much it. And so, I mean, now with her looking like that, now we have Sarah Poli, who we mentioned. You have Keegan Alley, who was sick today, but still scored 13 points and is a dangerous scorer for them. And you have players like Megan Curtis, who can score in the paint. So it's a deep team for Lawrence. And, who knows if it's enough to beat Skowhegan if they're able to move on to that game. But it certainly makes you think that Hampton's going to need a big effort from Bailey Donovan to have a chance to have a good shot in that game.
So semifinals are Tuesday night for the girls. Let's take 6 minutes here. I'm going to give you less than 6 minutes. So the boys tomorrow, Class A North boys are tomorrow. Another 4 more quarterfinals tomorrow night. After Class D South all during the day, but I want to keep this as an A North focus. We got one mild upset tonight. Messalonci beating Gardner. I don't know that I would call it an upset. But having said that, everybody talks about that these tournaments are just, they're obstacle-ridden in terms of upsets. Where's the upset coming from tomorrow on the boys' side?
I believe it's, if I had to choose 2, it would be either that Number two, Hampton could get upset because of the situation with Corey Winch. Losing him, that's losing a starter. Who knows what if that can really kind of throw a team into disarray. It's just, if it takes a half to figure out what to do without him, that could be all the time that Skowhegan needs to pull the upset. But I think a better pick would be Mount Blue at number 3 seed, just because I didn't like the way they were playing down the stretch. They were losing some games they should have won. That's one of the reasons that Messalonsky's out, is because they lost to Brewer. And so that's my pick. But then again, they also have a tremendous player in James Anderson. He can go out there, score 35 points, and I'm looking like an idiot for saying this, but that's my pick. That's my upset pick, is Brewer over Mount Blue.
All right. I like that. The other games, of course, are Coney and Madomic, and 4-5 is Erskine Lawrence. Is that the 4-5 game?
4-5, I believe, yeah.
So, I don't know if I'm Coney, I would be really, TJ Bain said it to me at the beginning of the week. I called him, and he talked about, Madomic is an 8 seed, but they've won 12 games this year. This is not a 8 seed that, this is not Class D South where you limp in with a 2-14 record. I think that boys bracket is really compelling in a lot of ways, and I think because you could make a case for every one of those teams to win games.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think that there's. We talked about this in our podcast when we got the tournament started. It doesn't feel like there's that dominant juggernaut there that good luck going against them. The way Skowhegan is in that A North bracket. Coney, they earned that 1 seed. They were probably the I don't know if they were the best team in that region all year. Hamden may have been, but they're probably the best when you consider what Hamden went through with injuries and suspensions and all that. But yeah, if that shooting touch isn't there for them or something, well, they're in a better position to hold off the upset than they were when they were a more 3-point heavy team, because they play such good defense. And it's not just hoping Coney misses shots; it's also having to figure out how to handle that really intense man-to-man defense. But Matomic's a tough draw. They're always in this tournament. They're always a team to beat in this tournament. They're usually the higher seed than the 8 seed, but they pulled off an upset last year, and if Coney's not careful, it could happen again this year.
Yeah, I think so. And again, not because I think Coney is some paper champion. I think, like, if we took the girls today, you'd have had to make a stretch for a couple of those teams to win games. I think in that boys, there's pros and cons for every team. I think it's good, and I like that. I think it's I think tomorrow's going to be a lot of fun, and I think it wouldn't be shocking if there's more than one, higher seed that gets knocked off. But that's why they play the games, right? That's what we say.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Final thoughts. I guess we should mention Annie Cook got her 1,000th career point tonight for Skowhegan. She did it in the third quarter. It was the third quarter, and it was a little bit later than we probably thought. It was only our 5th point of the game. But basically, when you miss the entire first half because you're sitting on the bench, it makes it tough to score points. So.
That kind of tells you something about what Skowhegan brings to the court too. That they have a 1,000-point scorer who's scoring a 5th point by the third quarter of the game. They have just so much depth. Yeah. They don't need her to go out there and score 20 points by halftime. They could, she can let somebody else take a spotlight and they just keep humming along.
Yeah, I thought it was, it was interesting. So I think, so we've got Class A North boys tomorrow. We've got Class D South boys and girls during the day at the Augusta Civic Center. We've got Class B North boys and girls tournaments still rolling up in Bangor tomorrow. We've got coverage of all of that. We've even got some B South games down at in Portland.
Down the Expo.
Both Marinicook teams made it, so it's a busy day of basketball. But you can read all of it at centralmaine.com/sports. We're on Twitter at Central ME Sports. I can't even remember now. Facebook, find it all. But Drew, good job tonight, buddy.
Thanks. You too.
Thanks. It's late. Need some food, and I need some rest because we're going to go after it tomorrow.
Yeah, we're just getting started.
Oh, awesome.
Just what you wanted me to say, right?
Just what I wanted you to say. But thanks, everybody, for listening, and we will catch up with you tomorrow with a recap of Saturday's games. Enjoy the tournament.